Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 17 of Legal Content Chat. It is great to have you here today. I'm your host, Becky, and I am a legal marketing strategist and copywriter. So today we have a very exciting guest. I'm going to call him a friend as well as a colleague. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. But we have Garrett Hansen here today, which is great because he's going to be talking all about paid ads in legal, which is something that I don't know anything about because I am all about the organic content marketing game. So this felt like a really good opportunity for you to hear all about that element of marketing. So quite a partial to a spicy margarita. Garrett was actually the one that introduced me originally to spicy margaritas, so he's got quite a lot to answer for. Garrett, take it away. Introduce yourself.
Appreciate the intro. Good to see everyone. And yeah, I was the one that corrupted Becky slightly into the spicy margarita game. But as you mentioned, my name's Garrett, and I specialise in the paid marketing side, running a company called Ads for Lawyers, as the name suggests. I don't need to tell anyone. We work exclusively within the legal sector, and hopefully today I can share some insights, give some tips, give some actionable steps for people to take away, and then I'm sure me and you will go back and forth on a bit about organic versus paid, and we'll see who comes out on top maybe by the end.
Doesn't have to be a competition. We can totally collaborate. So please drop your questions and comments for Garrett and myself in the box below. Something I always forget to say, it's there now. So go forth and engage with us because that's our favourite thing. We absolutely love it. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you get into paid ads? I don't think I know this actually. Tell me your story.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess myself, I've always been quite entrepreneurial in general. I've always wanted to run my own business, run my own companies ever since I was in school, and the stereotype of, I guess, selling chocolates and stuff like that. And yeah, went to uni. I'd done a degree in business, ran an events company actually while I was in university, and came out of there, and I loved the marketing side of things. I loved client generation, how I guess consumers act, and consumer psychology I found super interesting. So I was doing actually I guess the first job that I had when I came out was selling case management systems to law firms. So that was my first real step into the legal industry, and doing 100 cold calls a day and understanding a bit more about how law firms act, how they communicate, how they operate, what they struggle with. That was like my initial, I guess, step into the legal side. And I've always done, the business side, and spoke to a friend who was doing a legal degree and wanting to set up our own company. I wanted to do something in marketing, and he mentioned about the legal industry. I think that can be so archaic when it comes to like client generation, the legal industry specifically, but they do have like really, it's a evergreen service that people are always going to use, people are always going to look for. And yeah, they're just a little bit further behind, I think, when it comes to marketing. So we put those two things together and thought, okay, let's see how we can help that industry in particular generate work online, because the clients are quite valuable as well to law firms. So we married up, I guess, what I was doing and what he was doing, and then since then I've delved deep into so many different aspects of the legal side and legal services, and yeah, it's just gone from there over the past few years.
Basically, you've now gone down a rabbit hole of the legal industry that you can't get out of. Is that what you're saying?
I'm too far gone now. Too far gone.
You are. You're too far gone. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess that is an interesting one, and I do agree with you that law firms can be traditional, fairly archaic in client generation and that kind of thing. But things have moved on a lot. We used to see law firms on the high street, and it used to be word of mouth and just people walking past the front door. That was how they used to get their clients, and yeah. I think it's taken actually quite a long time for that perception to change now, that actually they need to get online and they need to find out what their clients are looking for and then give it to them, basically.
Absolutely. And I think it was definitely going in that direction. But I would say since COVID as well, since everyone started working from home, since the high street became a little bit desolate, I would say, to a certain degree. And then it's just fast forwarded that need for change, that, and I guess opened a lot of firm owners' eyes and marketers' eyes that, you know, we can actually work with anyone from anywhere just via Zoom, and people are a lot more open to that perception as a client as well. They want to work with the best firms for them that understand their issues, and not necessarily the people that are most convenient and local, as maybe used to be back in the day or a few years ago.
Definitely. There's so much choice now than there ever used to be, and a lot more competition in that respect. So they do have to up their game for sure. So what do you think is the general perception then of paid ads? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think people are starting to come around to the idea that the understanding that I think everyone thinks and knows that they should be doing it, but no one really knows how to do it. And I think marketing in general, it's a little bit of a minefield when you look at marketing. It's like everyone has what you should be doing. Everyone has the game plan. Everyone has the roadmap for what should be done.
Yeah.
And there's so many different avenues, different routes that are available. Each has its problems, each has its benefits. And even when you look in paid marketing as a whole, so many different platforms. It's like, should you be on Facebook, Instagram? Should you be doing stuff on LinkedIn? Should you be doing Google, PPC? There's, again, just so many different options that are available. And I think at the end of the day, the thing that we've realized is, you know, law firm owners tend to be lawyers. They're not marketeers. So it can be difficult to understand and navigate the route that you should really be exploring when it comes to paid marketing. And yeah, I think it's just mapping out, for me, it's like mapping out the objectives, what you really want to achieve, what the goals are, having those clear, and then matching what's going to be best suited when it comes to either paid ads or organic or whatever else, what's going to match really where you're trying to get to and the roadmap to get there.
Absolutely. I think it can be really overwhelming. There's so much choice out there and so many places that they could be marketing themselves. And like you say, I have not spoken to many law firm owners that are also business marketers as well. They generally don't go together, which is why it's really important. Shameless plug here, guys, to enlist the services of professionals that do actually know what they're talking about in terms of marketing. So you can get on with the important task of actually serving your clients, which is at the end of the day your job. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What about common misconceptions? Any that you come across in what you offer?
I think the main one is definitely it's expensive. Only the top firms in the world, in the country, can afford to advertise online. And for me, it's a complete misconception. You don't have to have hundreds of employees and hundreds of thousands of budget in order to appeal to the market, to the type of person that you're trying to reach. You know, the other day, I was speaking to a family lawyer, solo practitioner, spends £800 a month on Google Ads, generates 15 to 20 inquiries and converts 3 or 4 into clients. It's not always, you know, that you have to go all in, put everything towards it. It's really, I think, about the entirety of the process in terms of mapping out who you want to reach. And I actually think that the smaller 0 to 50 size-ish, so 0 to 100, whatever that may be, actually have a bit of an advantage over the larger size firms, because they can be a lot more autonomous in the way that they act, in the way that they operate. They can make quicker changes. I guess they can pivot a lot easier into different areas, into different types of service. They can refine things quicker. And it's just all round, I would say, a more streamlined process from like these larger conglomerate firms where anything has to go through like 100 yeses before it can be verified and get online. So it can serve as an advantage in that respect when it comes to the costing, I think.
Yeah, and when you put it like that, an £800 a month spend, and you know that amount of inquiries, that's good return on investment for sure. And it almost feels like, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like paid ads can be like a bit of a shortcut almost when you compare it to content marketing, which I do admit is definitely the longer game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's like the yin and yang. I think paid marketing, and we'll talk about them both together. It can really, I guess, what you can do is you can test things very quickly and find out what works and what doesn't work. So let's say if for SEO, you're trying to put together an SEO campaign and you're not sure, you think you know what keywords are going to work and what are going to bring the best inquiries. But with paid ads, you can really put something together and you can be shown for that specific phrase by just paying to be there, and you can be there tomorrow. And then you might think, you know what, I've been getting inquiries for that over the last month. It's actually not as aligned with what I thought was going to work. And you can pivot and try something else. But that is what, I guess, funds the organic strategy, because you can map out then what generates real quality inquiries and then focus on those from an organic standpoint, from content marketing, from your SEO, and be put at the forefront for those in the long term. But it definitely is a little bit of a shortcut, and you can, I like to say, you can get something set up and you can be number one on Google tomorrow. You just have to be willing to pay for that position.
Yeah, and it can be super beneficial for people that are starting up a brand new website. They've got no domain authority at all, so Google has no history of you, doesn't know what on earth you're about. So doing that shortcut can mean that you can appear and you can be visible immediately, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of firms are so heavy reliant on referrals, and I'm sure you get this as well, Becky. When you speak to firms, I would say 80% plus of the firms I speak to rely on 80% of their business to come from referrals. And I think that the main downside of that, and don't get me wrong, I'm not talking down on referrals, because everybody loves referrals. When you get a referral,
love a referral.
You love every firm owner, you get a referral, and someone that the potential client knows has done the selling for you, they've recommended you, and it's a lot easier, and that's why they convert so high. But inbound client inquiries are the heartbeat of any business, no matter the industry. So to be reliant on those referrals, the one thing that you don't get is any predictability. If I was to say to any firm owner, business owner, how many referrals will you get next week? How many will you get tomorrow, next month? Not having that consistent predictability can stunt the growth, or you can't make database decisions on what can be invested from a monetary standpoint, because you're not sure what's going to come in. And what you get with paid ads and organic, once you are ranking on the organic side, but with paid especially, you can know that with a very high degree of certainty that if you spend X amount, you are going to generate Y amount of inquiries, that your team tend to convert at Z percentage into this instruction value. And it's just a complete black and white ROI based figure that you can conclude after a couple of weeks of running a campaign.
Yeah, so that is super effective, isn't it? And that means that your firm can then scale properly, because you know exactly what you can expect to achieve. So, okay, let's go to your tactics, tips, whatever you like to call it. What can law firms do to start working with paid ads?
Yeah, I think that the first thing that I would always suggest is to look at the objectives that you want to reach. So is it to build the brand long term? Is it to generate awareness? Is it to drive instructions? I believe that every objective, and you can maybe come back at me on this point, I think every objective comes back to generating instructions and clients, no matter what the reasoning is. I think that's always the objective. But then I would look at what's your time scale that you want to achieve that. Is it more of a long-term play? Are you trying to get, clients next month, tomorrow, yesterday? What's the time scale behind that? I think if it's a shorter term time scale that maybe people will be most interested in, I'm not sure I can see the chat or whatnot, but if people are concerned in generating clients in the short term, I would break down the type of client that you want to reach. So what's the service? What are the intricacies of that service? I see a lot of firms put together a family law campaign, but it's like there's so many different aspects to that, and there's so many intricate details that someone may be concerned with when they're inquiring for a family solicitor, whether it's a divorce, whether they've got children, whether they've got assets. Like, there's so many variables, but break down in as much detail as you can the ideal clients. And I would say, if you do want to generate instructions on a quicker, shorter term timescale, I think Google PPC is always the best place to start, because unlike with social media, what you're going to get on Google is you're getting people that are in the market. And I think what makes your ideal client is the fact that whatever service you offer, they are looking for that service then and there. So you can narrow down that client and understand that they are actually in the market right now and looking for a solicitor. You know, there's 3 billion searches on Google every single day. It's crazy. I know myself, if you ask someone for a recommendation, or you go to Google and you Google it, it's where everyone goes. So then I would set up a Google campaign. What does that type of client search for when they're looking for the service which you offer? And then break down a load of different keywords that would be very, very relevant to that person and show a high level of intent that they're looking for a solicitor. The second thing I would then look at is, once they search that and they click on your ad, you're going to show up, you're going to have a headline that relates to the issue that they've searched. And then what page do they land on? I see consistent problems with law firms' websites when they're pushing traffic to a certain page that doesn't match, I guess, the temperature or the intent of that traffic.
Right.
I'm trying to use less, I guess, marketing jargon, but if they're high intent and looking for the service at that time, you want them to land on a page that speaks about the issue that they've just searched about, that has an offer and a title that relates to that issue, and you want to have a clear call to action. So you want them to be able to give a form in then and there. You want them to easily be able to give their details. I think people in today's age, they want everything so quickly, and everyone's like, with all these TikTok and everything else, people's attention span has just gone. Everything has to happen simultaneously. So if they land on your page and there's any sort of friction to give their details, they have to scroll to the bottom, or they can't see the button, they'll leave immediately. So I think having the Google ad set up to target that person and then push them to a page that relates to the issue that they've searched around, if you can tick both those boxes, you will generate inquiries. And those are the two things that I would say as a takeaway to set up a Google ad campaign and to generate clients in the next few weeks.
Perfect. And I love that comment that you've made about make sure you're sending them to the right place, because if you're sending them to a general resource kind of find out more page without a compelling call to action, then you've lost them. And it's the case of, they were so nearly there, but then they're gone at the last hurdle. And I find the user experience so fascinating, you know, the way that users browse websites and where they go next. And, you know, it's really possible to push those website visitors along a funnel exactly where you want them to go by you know, the power of copywriting first of all, but also where you're pushing your call to actions and making them super strategic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people will often use like the homepage as like a safe bet, like let's send them to the homepage, and even that it's like send them to the homepage when you can send them to the specific service that you know they are looking for. Because it's just an extra step that they have to take. They then have to click on the service. They're looking for the place to give the form. Even the service page may just be very information based. And you raised an interesting point there about kind of user behavior. I'm not sure if the audience and people who are watching will be aware, but there's something called Hotjar that they can install on the back end of their website. And what you'll be able to do is see how every user searches your site, what they click on, where they scroll to, and it just gives an interesting insight as you can find errors, you can find why people are dropping off, if there's like a dead link that people keep clicking. So I'd recommend that as a little add-on. And then also the other thing that I definitely recommend is around retargeting. So a lot of firms, the vast majority that I speak to, don't input a Facebook or Meta pixel. Essentially what that is a fancy word or a nice word for a tracker, and you can create audiences of people that of visiting your website regularly and remarket those on social media. So I always use the example, I'm sure you've had this as well, Becky, where you search for something online. I was looking for some dress shoes for a wedding the other month, and I was searching for them. I didn't buy them, and then for whatever reason they just followed me around everywhere I went. I went on Facebook, I saw them. I went on Instagram, and I saw this exact pair that I had in my basket, until I thought, oh yeah, I do need to buy them. And it's the exact same concept, just done for a service based rather than e-commerce, and a lot of firms don't utilize that as well. So I'd recommend just setting that up. You don't have to use the data right away, but once it's set up, you can start gathering the data so that when you are ready to use it, you have it already built up there, and you can start remarketing to people that you've already worked hard to get through content marketing, through your PPC. You've worked so hard to get them to your website. Only 2% of them fill an inquiry form on average. What happens to the other 98% that click on your website every month?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, people get busy. Stuff happens. The phone rings, the door, everything happens, and life gets in the way. And that's why these retargeting ads can be so effective, because it then puts you back front of mind. I mean, choosing a solicitor is a really important decision, and that's something that's probably going to stay with you if that's the decision route you're going down. But I think it's really, really effective to just put you back in the front of mind again, for absolute sure. So with just thinking about keywords and things for a minute, if firms don't know the keywords that they should be targeting for the services that they're interested in offering, is that something that you help your clients with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we set up everything when it comes to the keyword performance, or the keyword, for the ads, the headlines for the ads, descriptions, we build all the landing pages, write the copy for the landing pages, build out the offers, and do the back end as well. What I would say for firms that want to explore and see potential keywords, there's multiple softwares that will give insights, stuff like SpyFu, SEMrush, Ubersuggest. These are 3 different websites where you can go in and you can type in, family solicitor, and then it will give you a list of loads of keywords around family solicitor, how often they're being searched. That's one thing that can be done. Another one, which what's the name of it now? Another one called Answer the Public. So I'm not sure if you've used that for like FAQs, and you can type in a certain topic, and then it'll give you a list of everything that's been asked around that topic by people on Google, so you can know what their motivations are, what they're searching online. I think that's super valuable as well. But the keywords and the targeting is one of the most important, the most important aspect, I would say, from a Google ad campaign, and just focus on high intent traffic. So high intent keywords that show that someone is ready to instruct now. Too often I see firms adding in like that middle of funnel, or people that are just looking for information, and that's great to have through to your website. But if you're looking to convert inquiries, you want people that are ready to instruct now, and I think that's the most valuable. I guess it's one of the biggest disconnects that I would see on a campaign, where they're not targeting enough high intent keywords and people that are ready to instruct right away.
Yes, I see. But then I guess that again goes back to your original point, which is make sure you know what you want to achieve from your ad campaign. So if you've got a really successful brand and you're just looking for some more brand awareness, perhaps you probably won't be targeting those high intent keywords. You'll be looking for more of a broad keyword. So you need to think about that really carefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feeds into the content marketing. If you've got an ebook or a downloadable guide that you want to give out around a topic, then the keywords to push people to that would be those more, I'm just looking for information, and you can bring those people into your pipeline, if you will, and market to them at a later date, but just make them aware and give them some value. But yeah, you're right. It depends on the goals and objectives that you've set out.
Yeah, and would you always advise that firms have a specific landing page per campaign? Is that what you advocate for?
Yeah, that's what we've found, and we've tested firms' websites, we've tested built our own websites, we've tested landing pages, we've tested every different option that's available, and all of the data that we've built up, all of the advertising budget that we've spent on these tests indicates that the landing page is the best option, because you can have such a unique and personalized customer journey where they search for something so specific, they land on a landing page that's so specific to what they've searched about, and the call to actions are all related to that as well, and it just brings them each step's role, I guess, is to just get them to the next step, and it does that perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, imagine how powerful that is when you've typed something into Google and then you've been shown this ad which you've clicked on, and it's gone to a landing page which almost actually talks to you about the problem that you're having right now. I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You just click it just works so well. So makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, we just tested it for family law, actually, with divorce, and it was I wasn't surprised, but it was amazing to see like the difference in results from sending them to a generic kind of divorce page to then having an ad around dividing your property during a divorce. Then they go to a page that offers them a breakdown of how you calculate the division of your property, and you get a strategic breakdown of that. And it's the exact same process, but it's just worded in such a way where you get a very specialized outcome. I definitely think that's the best route for people to go for.
Yeah, because if people are going, say, through a divorce, as you used your example, there's lots of concerns that they may well have. Their main concern might be about assets or property. Then again, they might actually be more concerned if they've got children, what's going to happen next and how they navigate that part. So there are lots of different variables in there. And if you can tap into exactly what your clients are worried about, or your prospective clients are worried about, then they feel that they're understood, which means they've got confidence in you, which means that you're much more likely to get instructed. So boom, winner.
Absolutely.
new client on board. Happy days. So what else should people do? Obviously, we've spoken about Google. Any other kind of tips that you've got?
Yeah, I think from a paid advertisement side, I'd say Google for really short-term inquiries. It can, people will say it can be a little bit more expensive and it can be competitive, but I do think that's down to the fact that people don't differentiate the type of person they're trying to reach to. You know, the whole of family, or the whole of the divorce lawyers search for a divorce solicitor, family solicitor. There's no breakdown of what their concerns are around that. I think retargeting is massive. I know I touched on it there, but I think it's something that nowhere near enough service-based companies, law firms, nowhere near enough utilise, and you can set up the pixel very easily. We've got a guide that we can send out to anyone who wants to just know how to set it up, have that set up, and the capabilities. You can, notice how many people land on your personal injury, professional negligence page, and then you can have a little graphic that will go out to them on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, that speaks directly to the page that we already know they have visited. You can also add barriers where they, for example, they have to have been on that page for 3 minutes minimum. They have to have visited that page 3 times in the last week. Those type of variables that make them even warmer than they already are, and the fact that they're already aware of your brand, your name, they've shown that level of intent by visiting multiple times, they're gonna convert at a much higher rate. It costs a little bit more to get to those people, but it's traffic that you've already paid for in some way, so it just makes sense to have a retargeting campaign that goes out to those people.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I love that. I can see you're getting excited about it as well, Garrett. It's those kind of people that haven't landed on your website just by accident. You don't want to be retargeting those people, but make sure that they do actually have an interest in your firm and the services that you're offering. So that's fantastic. So should we talk about organic content marketing? What's your view? It's not like, we don't have to be in competition.
organic content is great. I think it serves a certain purpose, and they both work for me in tandem. I know I touched on it briefly earlier when I spoke about SEO and PPC, and PPC can really fund and I guess map out what should be done from an SEO standpoint, because you can understand very quickly with PPC what works, what doesn't work, what to avoid, and then put that into your SEO strategy. It's no good from an SEO standpoint to, spend however many months, 6, 12 months, 24 months going for a specific set of keywords, and then you get there and think, oh God, I wish we tested that sooner. We're getting a few random inquiries here that we didn't quite expect. So I do think that they work in tandem on that point. I'd also think when it comes to stage 2 of the paid ads, I guess website, the landing page copy, whether that's content or organic, I think it's a little bit of both, because it's so important to paid ads. It's like once the post-click action, once they've gone to the landing page, what do they see? How do you speak to that person? And those skills are very much built out of someone who does organic content and who does blog writing, ebooks, guides, downloadables, all of that type of things. They're going to write content a lot better that would be suitable on a landing page. But having copy on that landing page that really speaks to that type of individual increases your paid ads campaigns like tenfold. We found massive improvements by editing actually what happens post-click as opposed to before they click, and editing the messaging on the back end, editing the offer, editing the landing page. That can produce such great results when it comes to a paid campaign. Whereas I think that feeds in maybe to a misconception that people just think you can change some things on the ad campaign and it'll tenfold the result. If they're going to a page that's irrelevant, that's going to be way more detrimental. So yeah, I definitely think it serves its purpose. I guess it's more long-term, and I would say paid ads is a much more short-term solution in general.
Yeah, and things like blogs and guides and downloads and all those kind of resources, they are brilliant at building trust and giving more information. So it's like the people are at a different stage of the user journey, really. They're looking to find out more before they're instructing. You're building up a picture of your brand and what you stand for and exactly how you can help people. So it's all super valuable. It's just sort of at a different stage of the journey, I think, which is where we're coming from, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was going to touch on that as well. I think it is completely organic, can speak to that person that is in the information gathering stage, that's looking to find out a little bit more, that's looking to take in the firm and like you said, with the downloadables and everything else. Whereas paid focuses more on that bottom of funnel, so people that are looking to just instruct right away. And then when it comes to maybe the stuff that we've mentioned, where they are in that information gathering stage, paid can work in tandem with that, with kind of catapulting that growth and pushing really that type of traffic there. But it's the organic stuff that's going to convert that traffic as opposed to the paid side of things, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'm just going to have a drink of water because my mouth is getting a bit dry now.
Nah, don't worry.
Bear with. So is there anything else that our audience needs to know? Because we're coming up on 34 minutes now, so we don't want to be going on all afternoon. But is there are there any other little tidbits you need to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the paid side, I would say that would be what I would suggest as like a focus point. As I said before, I think it is a minefield when it comes to marketing and advertising and everything. So those are like two of the key steps, I would say, in creating a successful campaign. I wanted to keep it a little bit more simple when giving away the information. And I think if people are looking to take on clients over the next few weeks for a particular service, then that is where I would always start. And then upon testing that and seeing, you know what, I can actually pay to get quality inbound inquiries, that the sky is the limit from that point in terms of scale. You can use it for different avenues. And once you start generating a consistent quicker turnaround ROI, I think that's when you start investing more in your organic side, in your SEO, in your content, in building your brand, in building awareness, and capturing people that are a little bit further on. That is the journey that I personally would suggest. If anyone wants any tips or further feedback, like I said, we've got a remarketing guide that I can send out to anyone who wants to input the pixel, so they can remarket when the time is right for them. That's what I do for step one. If people want a landing page guide, we also have a guide on like the three most vital components of what makes a landing page convert. So I can send that out if anyone wants to DM me on Instagram with just landing page. I'll share that, and I think that would be a good start. If people are running ads, I'd be interested to know how they've found their campaigns, what they're struggling with. If there's any, I think that can sometimes be a little bit of an issue when people work with agencies, is that they don't understand the legal side as much, and then the law firm doesn't understand the marketing as such. So there tends to be a disconnect on both ends, where they don't know enough to check what's being done, and the marketing team doesn't know enough about the law side to even get that client through to them. So if anyone is running campaigns as well, I'd be keen to hear how they've been finding things and what they've been struggling with, and I'm happy to give some tips there as well.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so we've got a couple I definitely want that retargeting. Please send that to me. So you can ping that over. That's very interesting. So yeah, just put your details in the comments, or DM Garrett directly on LinkedIn, or you can find him on Instagram. On the show notes, I will put this on my podcast later. I will have all of the relevant social links on there, so you can get in touch with either of us for those free resources, which I definitely think you should do. So what else was I going to say? I think it's probably time for a shameless plug to get someone else on my show. So I am actually pretty busy at the moment. I think we're booking up till June for these LinkedIn Live events, which is very exciting. Happens every Wednesday lunchtime. Garrett, is it just the best place to be, or what?
Incredible. I'm not sure if people have noticed, I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, and I still thought I've got to come through. I've got to do the live talk, and it's good to hear that you're booked up as well till June. That's exciting.
I know. I'm having people message me going, "Oh, can I be on your show?" And I'm like, "Yes, you can, absolutely." But you do have to be in the legal industry, okay? So that is the first thing. Second of all, you do have to be interesting, and I'm gonna like talking to you. And I've also got to like you as well. So, those are the three criteria. So if you feel that you might like to come and join me on my show, please let me know. Or someone that you think might benefit as well, let me know as well. So I think that's about all for today. As I said, please let us know what you thought to this episode. It's been a really interesting one from my point of view, and I have learnt lots, and I'm sure you have too. So have a good afternoon, everybody, and we will catch you next week. Cheerio.
See you later.